Greetings Guardians, my name is Bife here. So let's recap the seasonal story of the Season of the Deep. Weeks 1 and 2 are going to be recapped in this video, but week 1 is going to be recorded here in this different section, and I'm going to record week 2 off the cuff just after we've played it because, well, hopefully this releases all on the same day. Season of the Deep predominantly focuses around Deputy Commander Sloane, Asa the Drifter, Commander Zavala, Saint 14, Lord Saladin, and Xivu Arath, as I'm sure you all know. Our story, of course, begins with notes about how the Witness has gone to a place beyond our grasp. The demonstration of this features some poor Titan being sent into the portal in the Traveler and being returned in a state that is horribly warped. They are literally inside the metal of their own ship. This in itself, I think, is a potential reference to things. In particular, the Philadelphia experiment, or maybe even Warhammer 40k. In both of these pieces of fiction, you can see certain reality warping circumstances that allow metal and flesh to become one or merged. In the case of 40k, it's often the exposure to the warp is a force beyond the comprehension of man, because it is the stuff of the Sea of Souls and everything to do with chaos. In the case of the Philadelphia experiment, which I think fits much more closely with this, it's a lot more akin to the manipulation of gravity and electromagnetism that somehow leads to a degree of teleportation or displacement within real space. The Philadelphia experiment is one which had the reported side effects where some of the crew members were fused into the bulkheads of the ship they were on, the USS Elridge. This is, of course, a fictitious story, but the reference here is pretty clear. The Titan is fused directly into his bulkhead. Less of a obliterator, aka 40k terms, and more of something that was obliterated, aka something more similar to the Philadelphia experiment. Either way, back in the world of Destiny, this revelation and the fact that we can't follow the Witness means that we need to do only one thing now: recover our forces. If the Witness makes another move, we need to be ready for it, so when an emergency message from Deputy Commander Sloane comes through from Titan, we jump to. Descending upon Titan with Saint 14, Zavala, and Saladin, we discovered a hive presence on Titan, and as we tried to triangulate Sloane's position, it became very clear, very quickly, that these hive forces were under the direct command of Xivu Arath. The Drifter then shortly arrived on the scene with the derelict as well. After finally securing the rig and triangulating Sloane's position, it was revealed that she was 1 kilometer down, beneath Titan's methane waves. After Zavala initially sent us down into a pressure lock so that we might go to Sloane, it was clear that we did not have the equipment to survive such a dive, and so the Drifter swiftly pulled us out and transmatted us up to the derelict. There, he equipped us with something close to proper gear that would allow us to survive the immense pressure of the water. It's here that the Drifter informed us about the nature of Titan after the collapse. It's worth remembering that during the collapse, the Pyramid fleets manipulated Titan's gravity to wipe out the arcologies on Kraken Mare. Down in the deep oceans, there are some areas that still have large air pockets where gravity has been distorted and you have unimpeded movement and combat abilities down here. Other areas are as they should be underneath a giant amount of water, and the pressure there is a significant threat. Long enough that if you don't relieve it using air bubbles, then yeah, you're gonna die. This is why some areas of Titan are combat areas deep below the sea and why some are flooded with water as they naturally should be. One successful dive later, and we made our way to Sloane's location. Then we met the main, real character of this season, Asa. And this is what happened.
Sloane?
Here, Commander.
You're alive.
Staying alive was the mission. And I always complete the mission.
No wonder you called us, sister. Let's get you back home.
You don't understand. That distress call wasn't for me. It was for her.
What is that?
An ally. Her name is Asa.
You can communicate with it?
It's complicated, sir. I get impressions, emotions, ideas. She knows our true enemy. The Witness came for her species, too. Discrete concepts are harder. Even more now, since this.
And you're still you?
Every bit. My light is holding this corruption back, but I can hear voices whispering. Demanding. It's like being tuned in to the enemy's radio. If we could strengthen my connection with Asa, I believe it would improve my ability to communicate through the noise.
I got some ideas. I'll draw up some specs and drop by soon.
Sloane.
I'm fine, sir. And I think I'm long overdue for a debriefing.
As you wish. We'll reconvene at the helm.
So, Sloane has made some friends with some rather large people. Asa is very much going to be at the center of the circumstances of the season, and it's a relationship of trust that Asa forged with Sloane that is even allowing her to be here in the first place. Sloane has been saved by Asa, and Asa is willing to give us information that will help us better understand the Witness. It's also clear that Sloane has been taken somewhat and has interfaced with Taken energy in her tangle with the Hive God of War on this moon. Sloane later informs us about her plans to get the information from Asa about the Witness, and she does so over the radio. This is also a moment at which she replaces the Drifter's makeshift diving equipment with some proper Golden Age technology.
Good to be back in contact with the Vanguard. It's an honor to serve with you. The Taken moved in quick after we lost Titan. I had to switch gears. Escape, evade, and rotate between extraction points. Survive for another day. That was the mission. I absorbed some of the Taken corruption to tap into their comms, if you can call them that. My bond with Asa proved mission critical too. I owe her my life. Now that Titan's back, the mission's changed. We need more intel on our enemy, the Witness. Drifter claims he knows a way to help Asa share that intel, boost the signal so her message can get through. If he's right, then you're going to need some diving equipment. Thankfully, I was able to secure a pair of intact subnauticals from the Arcology's storage units. Feel free to toss out that junk Drifter gave you earlier. This is the real deal.
Hey there, hero. While you were taking a dip in the methane, I detected something on the ocean floor, and it ain't native to Titan. I've seen it before, on the Glykon, on the Leviathan, on my own ship too. An organism that's all about forming psychic connections. Seems it's growing like coral down in the depths. I'm thinking we gather it up and use it to amplify Sloane's link to the creature. I can modify my Gambit equipment to bank that stuff and harness its power, but I'll need some Golden Age parts to do it. Just so happens, the Arcology is full of Golden Age tech waiting to be salvaged. You help me collect it, and I'll fix up the bank. Then it's just a matter of, well, diving into the depths of the methane sea and dredging up what Sloane needs. All while trying not to drown, of course. Nothing you can't handle? So what do you say? Ready for another swim?
The Drifter's plan is fairly simple. In order for Sloane to better receive the imprints and thoughts from Asa, something is needed to connect both their minds together. It's well known that this is a property of Egregore. The ability to bridge minds into a shared consciousness is indeed part of what happens when you burn egregore, when you interact with egregore spores. As it turns out, the Drifter detected something on the seafloor that was not native to Titan and was able to help us. Egregore that had grown as coral. This is something we could use to strengthen the psychic connection between Asa and Sloane. It should be noted here that the primary force being used, unsurprisingly to most, is darkness. The Drifter also makes it clear that we're going to need parts and equipment salvaged from the arcology to make all of this work, and so our mission is simply divided into two different activities. In Deep Dive, we go after the coral we need for the psychic connection. In Salvage, we go after the parts that Drifter needs to make it all work. Our first piece of coral is recovered in Operation Thunderbolt, and upon retrieving all the necessary parts, we returned to Sloane and Asa and saw the following message from the Great Leviathan. Take a listen to Sloane as it speaks through her.
An oasis in the desert. Seeds of hope buried beneath the sands. Nomads, wanderers, travelers. Their journey comes to an end. The first to be claimed by the deep. The first to fall victim to the witness.
Asa's message is far too vague for us to understand without further context. The idea of sands, nomads, travelers in the desert, the seeds of hope buried beneath those sands. These could all be things that are being spoken and said literally, or they could be figurative. We're not entirely sure what's being relayed here. For all we know, the travelers are just a nomadic people that lived in an actual desert. For all we know, it could refer to the actual traveler. For all we know, it could refer to people that have fled the Witness across space and left clues to how to defeat the Witness or the Witness's past in their wake. No one really knows at the moment, and frankly, we need more out of Asa in order to understand. So, for the moment, that's exactly what we'll do. It's clear that more time will be needed for Sloane and Asa to form such a connection again, but Sloane, after this first one, is clearly spooked.
So you heard all of that, huh? Hard to believe, but it's not just noise. I can understand bits and pieces of it through Asa. Xivu Arath's thirst for battle, the Witness's cold rage, the Taken's enmity. It's all in there. I started hearing it when my arm got this new paint job, but it hasn't sounded that real since. Doesn't matter. I've been through it before, and I can get through it again. Asa has vital information about the Witness. I'll do whatever it takes so she can deliver it. That's the mission, and I always complete the mission. Asa and I both need to recover before we boost our connection again. Until then, continue helping Drifter upgrade his technology. I hate to admit it, but his plan seems like it might actually work.
Sloane is very cagey about the details of when she felt a connection that strong before, and I think that that's partly because of the circumstances under which Sloane and Asa truly met, and under which Sloane was fighting against the Hive God of War. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic in this moment to my latter self, who has actually seen Week 2's story, and together we'll go over all of that. Be ready for a change in microphone tone and all that. Okay, so it's future me now, and I've played through Week 2's story, and I think things are starting to become a little bit clearer. This is all speculative still, so don't take this as fact. But I think that now things are starting to become a little bit easier to understand. I'm going to go ahead and skip over the actual mission that we ended up doing gameplay-wise because it doesn't actually change too much. There are some really cool details in that mission, such as Valkor now being a Taken. It's a bit of a downgrade for him being a previous raid boss and now just being a seasonal activity boss, but you know, whatever, c'est la vie. I think the important thing though easily comes in Asa's message. We'll talk about the Saint 14 and Zavala dialogue a little bit later if necessary, but for the moment it's something that happens and I think it's relevant, but not particularly to this exact moment in time. It's a lot about Zavala and leadership. Here's the big stuff though. Asa tells us the following.
city of light. A flourishing garden. A silent god withholds a deeper truth. Questions unanswered, a longing unfulfilled. The sky darkens as a new journey begins.
Okay, so here's the really interesting details about all of this. I think that here Arsa is more directly and more plainly talking about something in real terms, and in particular about the origins of the Witness. Here's the really strange thing about it. This seems to almost mirror our own story of our own lost city, but it's also something which, if this is meant to be in reference to the Witness, can tell us something which is slightly verified by the Altar of Reflection. Now, here's the thing. The Altar of Reflection is from Savathûn, and Savathûn lies. If you look at the Altar of Reflection playlist from Destiny Lore Vault, it actually tells us contradictory things in separate entries, and I'm not just talking about the two lies, two truths things. To give you an idea of what that's like, there are literally moments in that playlist where Savathûn openly says, well, what is the Witness? The Witness birthed the darkness, and in fact, no, the Witness was birthed by the darkness. And then it's got an equal pair of contradictory notes saying that the Witness's people were blessed by the shadow, aka darkness, and then afterwards, the one that I think might be true, given what Arsa has said, that its people were blessed by the light. Take a listen to this particular entry, the one which I think might be the truth in this massive bundle of lies.
We talked before. What is the Witness? This is the truth. The Witness was once mortal. Its people were blessed by the light, just as your kind were. In the light, these beings found power and knowledge, but they were not content. Power and knowledge turned to greed and despair. The Witness was forever changed.
Remember what Arsa said through Sloane? Questions unanswered? A silent god? It's very much talking about the Traveler, and it's very much talking about questions being unanswered and a degree of melancholy that arose from them. There's a lot to unpack there, but I think that if you really look at what this means, it means that the Witness's interactions with the Traveler are based on personal knowledge. It has an agenda because it once knew the Traveler, and perhaps its people were once exposed to the Traveler. It's really hard to say, and again, at this moment in time, I think things are becoming just a little bit more clear, but things are still not necessarily all there. Maybe Arsa is saying everything quite literally, and the note about nomadic peoples from prior was realistically talking about the Witness and its people before everything with the Traveler happened. I don't know. We'll have to wait and uncover more of the story. But let's keep in mind what's being said week by week, because it's clear that this seems to be some kind of continual dialogue. The third entry may be something that gives us real clarity. And again, everything I've stated about the Witness and its potential ties to the light and it having potentially been blessed by the Traveler, that's all speculative too. We can't know any of this just yet. But for the moment, there is a vague story unfolding here. A premise that seems to rely on melancholy and dissatisfaction, something that led the Witness on a search and quest for answers that it didn't get from the Traveler perhaps. Either way, that's all from me for now, and I hope you enjoyed the video. We will be unraveling the story every single week, and I hope that you all get to grips with it just in the same way I do, because this is kind of fascinating. If this is truly going to reveal the origins of the Witness, every single one of these little bits of dialogue matters. So, let's keep an eye on them. If you want to do that with me, go ahead and hit subscribe, and the bell next to subscribe to turn on the email notifications. Additionally, you can hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and if you have your own thoughts, leave them down below in the comments section. There's a ton to do with the Altar of Reflection that might give us some clues as to what the Witness was doing. What do you reckon is a relevant entry? Because right now, there's a lot of contradictory information in there, but maybe we can start to unknit the lies from the truth at last. Who knows? Either way, know that as per usual, your viewership is quite enough for me. And that in the meantime, my name is Byf. Parodasia ad Astra. I'll see you, Starside.